And this is James Maynard.
Otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
Oh, yeah, and I'm otherwise known as Granny Rocks. And this is Granny Rocks. And tonight I'm going to talk about a collective New Year's resolution, which is to be reasonable and kind. And I want to talk about what is reasonable and what is kind and what is unreasonable. And I hope that it's a good show. And this is our last show in 2020. And we could use a little bit of improvement.
I think it sounds intriguing because I automatically think that whatever I think is reasonable
Right.
may not be from anybody else's point of view.
And that we're all automatically kind. So Elizabeth said hi there and sent a heart. Hello, Elizabeth. It always makes us feel good that somebody says hi, so we know we're actually streaming. So, yes. So I want to give you a little bit of background on this reasonable and kind thing. Oh, and Tracy said hello, and she sent a caring thing. We care back, Tracy. So we have been under a lot of stress, and I mean, between COVID and the election, racial justice or injustice, and then the forest fires and not having our internet and our phones, and still we hope to have them in the next week or so. So we're limping along and just, being evacuated. It was just very, very stressful. And now on top of that, we're in escrow on a house and we're trying to move and all of that. And we both feel very stressed. And I have been noticing, Tanalia said, hi, loves.
Hello,
Hi, honey.
Tanalia.
So nice to see you. So I've been noticing that I'm just a little bit negative or edgier than usual. And we have been in negotiations with the sellers of a house, and we're not getting much, or we had not been getting much cooperation. And I felt angry, and James felt angry. And I called up the real estate agent who handled the sale of our house. And I said, is it reasonable for us to ask for this or this or this? And she said, well, these are crazy days. Judith! Hello, Judith! Hey guys, haven't been here for a while. We noticed. So good to see you. And you look well. I hope. Well, the
Thank
illusions, right? So anyway, we have just, it's been hell. But it's been good, right? We've been learning a lot. So when I said to her, well, what about this? And she said, these are not normal times. So you can't ask me, is it normal for the sellers to do such and such and such? But she said, I like to think in terms of, is it reasonable and kind? And I just felt stopped. And I thought, oh my God, that's exactly what's been missing in this whole interaction. And somebody saying, who's under my name, Granny Rocks, hi Granny and Sweet Baby James, good topic. I don't think that's me. So whoever you are that's masquerading as Granny Rocks, please tell us who you really are. And Richard said, B&J, and he sent love and all of that. Lovely.
Same back at you.
Absolutely. And Amy said, thank you so much for this topic. Oh, what a wonderful group. We're already getting lots of support. We love that. We need it. We appreciate it very much. Oh my God, there's more. It has been especially stressful, edgy, and negative in my relationship with my housemate. We definitely need some help, being at odds regarding what is safe or not in this time of COVID. Per her, science doesn't mean much. So I asked myself, so why is this escrow so painful? And I felt like there was no commitment to being reasonable or kind. The things we were asking are, deferred maintenance. That means the things that should be done and should have been done by the seller over time. And of course, whoever does. I mean, we have lots of deferred maintenance, but we're paying for it. And so that seemed reasonable, but there was no kindness. We never met the sellers. We don't know them. We don't know anything about them. We haven't been caring about them. It's been more like, what do I want? What do I want? Oh, Island says, I love you too. And Ollie says, good morning to two beautiful hearted people in their hearts. Health, especially all the people who are in favor of goodness and beauty. May God grant you many happy returns of the day. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you, Ali.
That was
Same
a
to
rough
you.
translation from Turkish, not my translation, but Facebook's translation. So we have viewers from all over the world, and we are so happy to have you. And we're happy to have anybody, anywhere, whether you're next door or in the country or in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately called my real estate agent. And I said, what feels missing is kindness and caring. And Ali sent a Merry Christmas. Todd said, that was me, masquerading as Granny Rocks. I switched it to myself, but then I moved to the full screen view so I could see the title of the topic, and it switched back to you. Sorry, no problem. Just happy to have you. And Amy said, forgot to send you both lots of love, and thank you for always caring about us. Thank you, honey. And Blanca says, hello, Beth and James, and
Hello,
hola, Blanca, who is from Ecuador. So I said to the real estate agent, and I'm sure that she thinks I'm crazy, I said, we don't know anything about these people. We don't know what they need. We can't be caring towards them. The only thing we know is this, and we would really like to support them in that. And I just felt just thunderstruck, and I felt myself moving into a different vibration. And I felt a calm coming over me, and interestingly enough, later that day, we got a much more responsive and kind response from our sellers. So I don't know whether they picked it up in the ethers or it was just coincidence, and we don't know how it's. We're still waiting for the happy ending. But I felt different, and I realized how unkind and unreasonable I was. And so I wanted to look at the question of, what makes something unreasonable and unkind, and what can we do about it, and can we change ourselves and our world in 2012, even in that small way? So
did you say 2012?
I did, and I have no idea why I said
2020?
that. 2021.
Yeah.
So too many twos. What can I see? Twos and ones.
Too many.
And too many. Okay, so what makes something unreasonable? One thing that strikes me is if something is impossible and we just want it anyway, that's unreasonable. Like, Blanca says, hola Beth, feliz de verte, which means, hi Beth, happy to see you. Y nosotros sentimos lo mismo. Feliz de verte también. So I was just saying, yes, we feel the same way. So, so let's say a child has lost its mother and it's died. And the child says, I want my mommy, I want my mommy. It's just heart-wrenching for the other parent, if there is another parent, the other mother or the father or whatever, or the aunt or the uncle, whoever is doing it, because it's impossible. They can't bring that mother back. And yet that child just wants it anyway. And that's kind of unreasonable. And in a way, to ask for something unreasonable is also unkind, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Because it makes you feel bad, the other person feel bad. Mm-hmm. And then another example of unreasonable is when we are willing to distort the truth in order to get our way. We don't want to know what is so. We just want to make it look a certain way so we can ask for what we want, so we can demand what we want. That is really pretty damn unreasonable. And Newton says, hi, Granny, and hi, Newton, so glad to see you. We're assuming that you or Newton is your first name, because that's the first name that shows up. So how many people are distorting the truth in order to get their own way? And how unreasonable is it? Like, isn't it unreasonable to think that every single court that has a suit from Trump's organization that says there's nothing to it, that they're all wrong? Do you think that's a little unreasonable? You know, so there's something about what we're willing to distort the truth in order to get our way is unreasonable, and it makes everybody else angry. Now, here's another example. We want to be angry, and we create reasons to be so. You see what I'm saying? So, let's say I'm in the mood to be angry at James. So I'm going to look at things to pick at him about. And those are unreasonable things. That's not based on what is. That's based on my stress and my anxiety and my upset. And Agamina says, amigos, feliz año nuevo. Ustedes han sido personas muy encantadores. Ooh! And that means, Happy New Year, friends. You have been very lovely people. Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
I hope that means that we're coming across as reasonable and kind. Usted también, Dalamida. Gracias. So, Amy says, I definitely do that. I don't know which one, but maybe it's the, we want to be angry and create reasons to be so. That is really damned unreasonable. And then when we accuse the other person, it's so painful because there's nothing they can do about it. The bottom line, I think, of unreasonable is that we are not willing to see what is. And why is that? Do we notice just a little ego here? I want, I want, I want, I want. Amy said, try to start an argument. Yes, indeed. Try to start an argument to justify even being angry. And then we put the other person on the defensive and there's nothing that they can do. So the ego is looking for a fight, is looking to dominate, is looking to blame. Judith said, bingo, you hit the nail on the head about being angry. And there are a lot of angry people in the world today. Very sad. Yes, indeed, Judith, very sad. And they are looking for reasons to be angry. Well, they are angry, but they may not be angry about what they think they're angry about. But they pick on something, and then they get very unreasonable. Or I should say we, because there is no they, really. I mean, we all have a tendency to do that, don't we? So when we're doing the ego dance, you know, the monkey or it's all about me. It's what I want. It's what I think. The way I want to shape the world according to Beth, or you want to shape it according to James, and this really directly leads into the second part, which is to be reasonable and kind. Because it is not kind to ask someone for the impossible. I am leaving you because you are X. Well, maybe you are X. For example, if somebody said to me, I'm leaving you because you're 5'1.5" Well, I am 5'1.5". What do you want me to do? Wear stilts? You know what I mean? It's unkind to blame me for being who I am. And that blame often leads to shame because so many of us were shamed as we were growing up that we have a habit of going into shame all the time at the slightest rejection or the raised eyebrow. You're no good because you are this way. I mean, if somebody said to me, like Sweet Baby James, and he never has said this to me, but if he said to me, I don't want you because you're sick, that would be unreasonable because there's nothing I can do about being sick. And it would be extremely unkind because it's pointing out something that I can't change. and it's not caring about me. And going back to, and James has never done this. Going back to our escrow and our melodrama with our sellers, I was thinking we were just taking a position. We want this and we want that, and we really didn't know anything about them. And so, how could we be kind? I started thinking about this. Every transaction represents a human relationship. The bank teller, the guy who's behind the scenes, the person who's on tech support in India, who has a heavy accent that you can't understand, and it's very unreasonable and unkind to expect them to be any different, and that person may be desperate for the job, that person may be supporting 5 people. It's so unkind to get angry at someone for something that they cannot help, or to ignore what their needs are. There's so little caring, and that's ego too, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like I want, and I really don't care about you. So that's what I said to my real estate agent when I said to her, I know you're very stressed yourself, but I want to feel that feeling of being reasonable and kind. And I want that, we're hoping for that from the sellers. When we sold our house, which we haven't left yet because they're kind enough to let us stay for a while longer, our sellers were very kind because they knew that it would be very difficult for us to find another house now with the housing market being so crazy. So they were being reasonable and kind. And that's a template of what I wanted to experience. Judith said, Beth, sweet baby James looks at you with love in his eyes. Sick, well, fat, short, whatever. And she sends flowers and hearts.
Thank you, Judith.
I'm a lucky girl. That is not what I've always experienced in my life. And I'm sure many of you don't experience that either. So I would say 2020 has been full of unreasonable and unkind. We can't expect people to change on a dime, but we can't expect people to put up with being abused forever. That it is neither reasonable nor kind to expect people to put up with abuse. And it isn't reasonable or kind for us to expect the abusers to change overnight. Somehow or other, we need to be reasonable and kind with everyone under all circumstances.
Yeah, I think to me, reasonable means not just pushing my own agendas, but feeling into what does the other person need, or whoever's involved, what they need.
Yes.
And then arriving at something that's a mutual accommodation. Even something as simple as when I was in the grocery store this afternoon, I was more mindful of checking, and I arrive with my card at the same time as somebody else arrives, and I can stop and let them buy instead of acting like, well, I got here first, so I should go first, that sort of thing.
That's right. Jose says, God bless you so much, and God bless you, Jose. Thank you so much for your support. We are so happy and grateful to see so many of our friends here for our New Year's show, aren't we?
Yes.
Because we feel your kindness and your support, and that is so important. And what you're saying, James, is so true about the line. For example, if you see someone who is obviously distressed or sick or old or something, maybe you want to give up your seat. It's not reasonable to expect them to stand up and not pass out, and it certainly isn't kind. So, shall we make a collective New Year's resolution? Is that unreasonable to ask ourselves to be reasonable? I'm not asking us to be courageous, to be heroic, to change the world, to be Superman or woman or super them or whatever you are. I was thinking about the abortion debate because Argentina, which is a primarily Catholic country, at least by tradition, has just passed a law legalizing abortion up to the 14th week, and this is new. Before it was only, I think, in the case of rape and the and that it would damage the health of the mother. And I thought, I remember when abortion was illegal, it wasn't reasonable to expect a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old to carry a child to term and go through all that trauma, or even the trauma of giving it away, if that person isn't ready for it emotionally, and it certainly isn't kind. And so while we definitely would prefer that there would never be another abortion ever again, it is more reasonable and kind to try to help young people, men and women alike, to avoid becoming pregnant to start with. Now that is a reasonable and kind solution instead of the yelling and the screaming and the threats and the polarization and so on. So it's just another example of whether we're talking about on the social, political level, we're talking about in our own families, and we're talking about ourselves. And before I leave tonight, I want to talk about ourselves. We need to be reasonable and kind with ourselves. We cannot expect ourselves to be different from who we are just because we want to be. We're not going to distort the truth in order to pretend something about ourselves. We aren't going to pick fights with ourselves and create reasons to be angry and to feel shame. We have to be willing to see what is. And that means we have to understand ourselves, humanity, and change. The change is what I call gradual. It takes time. Non-linear, meaning it just doesn't go like zip. It changes like this, right? And sudden, because all of a sudden there's a change, and you can really see it and feel it. Sometimes there's a backlash where we fall back, but if we've been going through a gradual change, and the example, of course, is when you put the flame under the water, the flame, if you have a gas stove or a wood burning, and the water gets hotter and hotter, at some point it will change to steam. So it's been gradual, and it may be non-linear, as it may cool and warm according to conditions. But then it's sudden, and then we're steam. And when we are steam, we can feel the freedom of being who we have become. And I bless every one of you and pray for you to have a year of growth, that we will not become reasonable and kind on January 1st or 2nd, but we can be aiming in that direction, and we can become more and more so. And one day, we'll discover that we've changed, and that we're much more of a blessing to our world, and that we will elicit different responses from others, because they will feel the reasonableness of what we're saying, and they will feel more able to be kind in response to kindness. So I would like to remind you that we are on Granny Rocks every Wednesday night, and I ask you to please share this show and like it and love it and follow this page. And tomorrow night, Thursday, at 7 p.m. Pacific time, because this is 6:30 Pacific, that is 7, we will be broadcasting Dreams of Peace improvisational music, where I play from the heart, totally improvised music.
On the piano.
On the piano. Thank you, Jean. Mm-hmm. On an acoustic piano, totally unrehearsed, reaching out my heart to yours, and hoping that together we all gain the strength and the love, the encouragement and the courage to move forward into a better 2021. And let's not forget all the good things that have happened this year that may be hard to see, but are good to count. I didn't want to talk about this tonight because I wanted to talk about this, but of course, that's always a good thing to see the beauty of what we have just gone through and see how much we've grown as well. So
Yes.
I think that tonight.
Here.
So thank you so much for your continued support.
Yeah.
Please like, love,
Yes,
share,
you.
comment. I will always answer your comments later. And come back soon.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.